All right, so this is my second video. Today is February 7th, and I'm going to go over a topic that is super relevant right now with what we're going through as far as what we may or may not see on the ballot come 2026 in November. And I did take some advice from some of you. Thank you for the feedback on the first video. Hopefully the lighting is better, the sound is better. I am in a different room, so there's not just white plain background behind me. So what we're going to talk about today is property taxes. And this is a really hot button topic, right? Because when we look at property taxes, we're talking about housing affordability. And it doesn't just affect property taxes, doesn't just affect homeowners, it affects investors, it affects commercial property. So this is a really important, relevant topic. I'm fortunate enough to sit on the governance committee for our local realtor board. So I was able to travel to Tallahassee last month. I was able to speak with legislators. I was able to speak with House representatives and senators and kind of get their feedback on where they think these proposals are going. And right now, that's just what I'm going to talk about. These are just proposals. So none of them have made it into law. They're all on the House, the House joint resolution bills right now. Some of them are ready for the floor. There's about 7 of them. Only 3 of them are ready for the floor. None of them have Senate companion bills. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a little bit. But what I was hearing from them is that there is so much discourse and so much, everybody's on different opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to where they think that these bills should go and how we should move forward, that we are really getting down to a timeline here where we're now at February 7th and we go to vote in November. Is there going to be something on the ballot come November? So I'm just going to talk about the 3 joint resolutions that are actually ready for the House floor right now. And I just kind of wanted to talk about where things stand procedurally. And I'm going to be looking at my computer because there's a lot of information that I want to share with you and I want to get out and I want to make sure that I actually tell you what it is that I've learned and heard. So again, there's no Senate companion bills yet, and the House has moved several proposals forward, but there's only 3 that are actually waiting to go to the floor. I don't believe they've gone to the floor yet. As of last week, they hadn't, but this is a very fluid situation, and so it could be that this does move quickly because they are still up in Tallahassee right now, and so it could potentially go to the House floor in the next couple of weeks or even the next few days. So all the major proposals are joint resolutions, and even if something does pass, lawmakers would still need to decide how it gets implemented. So we just have proposals right now. There's still no way to implement anything. And because these are going to be joint resolutions are going to be major joint resolutions, that it actually is going to be a constitutional amendment, not just simple statutory changes. And that would have long-lasting effects with hard to reverse impacts. So just something to think about when it comes to what type of law this is going to be. And how does it become law, right? So it would actually have to have 3/5 of the vote in both the House and the Senate, right? So not just one, but both. And then once it passes, it would then go to our state ballot. So we would see it in November of 2026 if we get there, if it gets to that point. And then we would need 60% of voters to vote it in as law. And just a few of them that have actually gone that are have gone a little bit further. We have 3 of them. One of them is House Joint Resolution 203, which is a phased out elimination proposal. And what that means is a gradual increase in exemption over time. So you would see for the first year, let's say $100,000 of your taxable value of your home, and then the second year would be another 100,000, and then be another 100,000 until the entire amount has been eliminated. And when I say eliminated, I am not referring to school board taxes, right? So our taxes are made up of 3. Actually, they're made up of a lot more than that, but our ad valorem taxes are essentially your school board taxes, the county taxes, and the city taxes. So for instance, Coral Springs only gets about 30% of your property taxes. So if you ever look at your property tax bill, it actually shows you how it's broken down. And again, we're only talking about ad valorem. So just know that every resolution that I'm talking about, none of them eliminate school board taxes. So that is here to stay. That's not going anywhere. And the other thing that all of them have in common is that they don't allow to reduce first responders' budgets. So if you look at our budget every year for the county, or for the city, excuse me, the budget for first responders, police, firefighters, that goes up every year. So these bills would allow for the law enforcement budget to not be reduced, but there's nothing in there about it being increased. So that's another thing to kind of think about. The other House Joint Resolution would be 209, which is an increase in homestead exemption. So right now, when you look at your tax bill, you see all the different exemptions you have. And again, these are for your primary residences. When I'm talking about homesteaded properties, or your primary residences, it's where your voter's registration card has you licensed to, I'm sorry, living. It is not a rental property. It's not an investment property. So understand what I'm saying, that I'm talking about your homesteaded property. So if you live in Coral Springs and that's your homesteaded property, that's what I'm referring to. So House Joint Resolution 209 would increase homestead exemptions. So it would increase it from 50,000 non-school, I'm not talking about non-school, to 250,000. And that would be a significant increase for the portability and for also people who are living in their homes and plan on living in their homes for a long time. The problem is right now, currently, there is no funding backfill mechanism, right? So there's nothing that is being proposed or nothing that has been worked out yet that says where will that money be replaced from. We don't have a replacement for how that funding is going to occur. The other House Joint Resolution is 213, which is an assessment limitation modification, and it essentially changes how property assessments increase. And right now, we are capped. If you have a homesteaded property, you're capped at a 3% increase, or CPI, so whatever the CPI is. And for your homesteaded properties, for investment properties, it's 10% per year. So what this is looking at is essentially taking it to every 3 years. So instead of every 1 year, it'll be every 3 years, and it'd be capped at 3% or CPI. And then for non-homesteaded properties, so your commercial and your rental properties, it would be capped at 15%. So right now for non-homesteaded properties and commercial properties, 10% every year. This would be 15% every 3 years. So, and again, there's also an important amendment added into that one, that if market value decreases, property cannot be assessed at a higher value. We see that oftentimes now with condos in our condo market, not necessarily single family homes, but we're seeing that in the condo market. So again, there's no replacement revenue plan, and there are other bills that have stalled out in committee. We're not going to talk about those because they're kind of stalled. This is fluid. If anything changes, I can hop on here and give you more information. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me and I can elaborate on it. I may have to do a little bit of research, but this is the information that I've gathered, not only from going to Tallahassee, but from reading up on the bills and also attending town halls. So what's not going away? Not going away is your non-ad valorem assessments. That's still here to stay. That's not going to be touched. Solid waste, stormwater, special assessments, all of that is still there. So when people talk about property tax elimination, they really need to be very clear in what they're talking about, because it's not an elimination of all of your property taxes. There may be some assistance, it may be helpful, but it's not an elimination of all of your property taxes. That's not happening. And I don't think that people make that very clear when they do the clickbait headlines and they talk about it. Property taxes is obviously not the most sexiest topic, so when you want people to click on things, you tend to put really spicy topics to get people to want to click onto those things. So hopefully that helped out a little. Some other things that I also wanted to talk about was what might be impacted should these tax cuts happen, right? So children's service councils rely heavily on ad valorem taxes. So children's service councils, we don't know how they would be funded. And there could be other impacts, right? So there could be a millage shift. The tax burden would probably fall to more commercial properties, investors, renters. The service costs that the city provides will probably have to go up. I mean, the money has to come from somewhere. We just don't know where it's going to come from yet. There's been no proposals. So again, I hope that was clear. I hope I explained that enough. I still don't have that big fancy budget yet to do video editing. So please, again, understand that I'm doing the best that I can, just doing these videos all on my own. I have been given so many wonderful suggestions from my friends that actually do podcasts or do better videos than I do. And there's a lot of you out there, and I appreciate that. But I don't want to keep waiting to give you this information until I get a fancy budget or find somebody to help me modify these videos or have somebody to write me scripts or edit. So I just want to put the information out there while it's still fresh in my brain. Again, this is fluid. This could change. They are still up in Tallahassee. I will keep giving you updates because it's really important, right? This is a major impact on affordable housing that we have here, not only in South Florida, but also in our city in Coral Springs. So until the next video, thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to talking to you about another really exciting topic.